What's your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out? I run a cake business. I charge people hundreds for wedding cakes. Every last one is made using Pillsbury cake mix I buy for $1 a box at Walmart. I suck at baking. Every time I've ever tried to make a cake from scratch it sucked. But baking is like my whole deal. My friends all call me the cake girl. It's like my whole life is a lie. People compliment my cakes all the time. Telling me how delicious they are. Telling me it's so much better than box mix cake. Telling me they could never bake a cake so delicious. Well, guess what? For $1 they too can make a cake just as delicious. Just add oil, eggs and water. In my defense, I love cake decorating. I make all of the frostings and fondant from scratch. I just hate baking effing cakes. I base my prices mostly on the decoration of the cakes and not off the cake itself, if that makes sense. Still, no one knows about this except my husband. Even my best friends think I effing slave over the oven mixing and baking these damn cakes. I have been doing this for years. If anyone knew, my business and reputation would be in the toilet for sure. I keep telling myself I have to learn how to make the damn cakes without the box mixes, but I never do it. I feel like such a sham sometimes. Edit, January 2018. I have a sort of hilarious update at this point. About a year and a half ago I was diagnosed with a wheat intolerance. My intestines decided they no longer wanted to digest wheat anymore. Woo! I actually just thought I was dying for a few months. It was really stressful. Anyway, I can't even effing eat cake anymore. I still have all of my equipment and whatnot. I make a quick cake now and then. But trust me when I say gluten-free cake mixes are better than anything I could make from scratch. How does Walmart not notice you pushing a cart out with hundreds of boxes of $1 cake mix? Haha, well, I'm a home-based business, so I usually at most am buying 10 to 20 boxes at a time. I usually line the bottom of the cart with cake mix and then put all my other stuff on top. Like 10 bags of powdered sugar. Then I use the self-checkout in Shame and stack the boxes in my black canvas shopping bags. My worst fear is running into someone I know, or worse yet, whoever the cake is for, while I'm there with all these boxes of cake mix. That's why I act all shady about it. Background: I'm a guy in my late 20s who was taken into care aged 7. Everyone around me already knows that I was brought up by foster families because I had a shit early childhood. I deliberately keep it vague and say stuff like, I'd rather not go into it, so that people will just assume I was abused in some way, and they'll stop asking about it. The truth is that for the first 7 years of my life, I was brought up as a girl by my psycho birth mother who really wanted a daughter and didn't let the snag of giving birth to a boy stop her from trying to raise one. She was a pretty successful professional in a legal field, not entirely sure what, and had me via anonymous sperm donor from a fertility clinic. She found out I was a boy at a late ultrasound and then moved across the country. Gave birth to me at home and continued to move about until I was 5 or so. It was just the two of us all my life. We had contact with other people, of course, but they rarely got very close. I had lots of friends, but was always supervised. I found out way after that my mother's strong puritanical Christianity was a lie she used to explain why she was so strict about me being private and never letting anyone see me get changed or anything. I just accepted all of this as fact, having never been told anything different. I was sent to a religious school for girls and had a really great childhood. I was a bit of a tomboy and played with Lego and toy animals rather than dolls and stuff, but that's not unusual, and no one ever questioned I was a girl, even me. I knew about men and women, but had never really seen much of naked people. My mother never ever spoke to me about it, but I kind of had the impression that when I grew up and got boobs and stuff, my dick would kind of fall off or something, and I would be a woman, and other kids would keep their dicks, and they'd be men. I don't know, to be honest, I never really thought about it anyway. I carried on with my happy girlhood and had a bunch of friends, and everything was great until I was 7, and a teacher accidentally spilled a cup of hot coffee over me at school. The liquid soaked through my clothes and was scalding me, so the staff immediately stripped me out of my dress and underwear to get the hot coffee away from my skin. And then they found out. The cops were called, and I got taken to speak with who I guess would be social services. They asked me a bunch of questions about life at home and stuff. Meanwhile, my mother was taken in for questioning too. She refused to acknowledge me as male and insisted I was her daughter. Because she was, delusional and stuff, I wasn't allowed to go back home, but got put with a foster family and went through loads of therapy and stuff. The worst part was that literally overnight, I lost everything. My mother, my home, all my toys, all my clothes. I moved school, so lost all my friends. They cut all my hair off and told me I wasn't a girl anymore. It was really traumatic. The first foster home wasn't that great. They had 3 boys already, and going from a sheltered religious only child upbringing to a rough and tumble testosterone-filled environment was really difficult. They tried to force me to be masculine, and I was just too confused about what they wanted. Anything girly was reprimanded, and I felt so lost and alone because nothing I did was right. I tried to commit suicide when I was 11 and again at 13 because I didn't feel I fitted in anywhere. After the second attempt they moved me to a different foster family who were awesome. I consider them to be my parents. They actually stood up for me. The first thing was that they let me grow my hair. From when I got taken into care they buzzed my hair short and I hated it. They always had to hold me down and do it forcibly while I was crying and fighting. My new parents flatly refused to do it and said that loads of boys had long hair. They also let me quit karate and football and take up swimming and jazz dance. Since I'd been in care, no one had ever stood up for my right to choose what activities to do or how to dress before. It was amazing. In the end, I came out of it with a pretty healthy gender identity. I'm a guy, but not the most butch guy ever, but I'm fine with that. I went through school and got my degree and have a pretty good job and an amazing, supportive wife. Everything looks great. But I can never speak about my early childhood and how I grew up as a little girl. I once took a shit in the bathtub and then, realizing what a horrible mistake I'd made, I flung poo into a hole in the wall. My parents renovated and patched up the hole. So now there is a 15-year-old turd in between the bathroom and kitchen wall of my childhood home. Not even using a throwaway because I have no shame. The telltale poop. The poop of Amontillado. My daughter turns 5 next week. If anyone knew the truth behind her parentage, I could probably lose her forever. I grew up in foster care, never knew my parents or siblings. In my senior year, I met an older guy and we dated for almost a year, getting pregnant about 7 months in. One night while we were watching TV, the subject somehow came around to our real parents. He had been adopted as a young child. Turns out the man I was seeing, the father of my daughter, is my half-brother. We have the same mother. Our relationship didn't last, and he is not in her life, per his own choices. My daughter is extremely smart, beautiful, and well-rounded. She'll never know the truth. Her father and I made a pact to never tell her. I just hope she never needs a kidney or something. Edit. Keep reading about people who knowingly slept with relatives they grew up with. Is it bad that I feel slightly less horrible? I still have imaginary friends. I'm almost 30. I lost them for a while. I don't know why or how, but they were gone. I couldn't see them or hear them anymore, not the way I used to when I was younger. It made me was miserable. I kept hoping for a way to get them back. 2 weeks ago, I somehow managed to finally break through whatever the barrier was. I have spent the past 2 weeks hanging out with and talking to a character from a well-known TV show. I can't really see him visually, but I can see him with my mind's eye. He goes almost everywhere with me. He's sitting on my bed right now, waiting for me to get off my computer. I promised I would get off a little while ago, but I had to check Reddit one last time. He's been coming to work with me every day for the past 2 weeks. I share my food with him. I kind of mentally duplicate it for him, since he can't touch it in reality. I love it. I'm happy again. I realize most people would say he isn't real, but something about him is. I don't care. He's real to me. Edit. Revision to my final thought. I am scared that if anyone knew, I would be locked up and heavily medicated, but I acknowledge it's not really a likely scenario in my case. Edit 2. An update 5 years on. I have received so many amazing PMs over the past 5 years. I just wanted to say thank you, and that if you read this and find it describes you too, you are not alone. Probably 100 people have PM'd me saying they experienced the exact same thing. And that's just from the subset of people on Reddit who read this post. There are probably many more of us. People may think you're weird or strange, but who you are is perfectly natural and you are not alone. Some people were able to find later in the comments where I copped to the fact the character in question was Castiel from Supernatural, but some people missed that, so stating it here now. Castiel still exists around in my head but is presently on sabbatical. I spend most of my time nowadays with my brother, Malcolm, who was on Star Trek Enterprise. He's the best. But he's a private person so I'll respect that. I also spend a decent amount of time with Will, from The Good Wife, who is our other brother, but only when he's not busy working on cases or spending time with Alicia. Yes, imaginary universes have legal systems and need lawyers too. I'm 20 and in college. I've got an imaginary mom who comes and visits me occasionally. My real mother is still alive, but she was emotionally abusive, and I don't like thinking about her. I know this thread is most likely dead now, but I used to masturbate a lot. And when I was 10 I had a technique where I'd let off a load into a sock, then wash it and quickly dry it. Now I couldn't leave it hanging outside or use a dryer, otherwise my family would have seen it and probably smell it or whatnot. So I'd put it inside my gas heater unit. Unfortunately my sock had caught on fire inside the unit, blew it up, and set my house on fire. Only my brother was home at the time, and he managed to survive. The house did not. For 5 years we stayed from caravan park to caravan park whilst we waited for confirmation that it was not arson and we could receive an insurance payout. We eventually did and scraped together money to start rebuilding the house. The house is still being rebuilt to this day, and it shames me anytime I have to visit my parents living in a tiny mobile home where my backyard once was. I faked having a chronic pain condition for 5.5 years in order to not have to attend middle school and high school. I was placed on a homebound program, not homeschooling, and allowed to study at my own pace from home. I was able to fool a team of medical professionals, my family, my teachers, and my friends into believing that my symptoms were real. Also, I racked up over $100,000 in medical bills for my family. That's just what the insurance didn't cover during those 5.5 years. I did not realize the extent of the medical bills until late into my life, and it was one of the main reasons I decided enough was enough. Upon graduating from high school and getting accepted into a good university, I decided that it was time for my pain to go away. No one has questioned the fact that my symptoms vanished overnight. My medical team attributed it to the fact that I was nearing the end of puberty. What I did was a douchebag thing, and my family is continuing to drown in debt from medical bills. I plan to pay them back someday. I simply started the hoax because I was a 12-year-old who absolutely loathed middle school. I attempted to end the lie at the beginning of every school year, but eventually fell back into saying my pain prevented me from attending school. Today I feel horrible about what I did, and I desperately want to tell everyone that it was a lie, but I know that I cannot because I will never gain credibility back again. Edit. I didn't expect such a huge response. I fully expected this to get downvoted to hell. Those of you who are saying I am a douchebag, you are right. I wholeheartedly agree with you. You took faking sick to a whole new level. After graduating from high school, I went to a small out-of-state college where no one from high school knew me. I was told many times how impressive my false Australian accent was, so I decided it would be great fun to go through college pretending to be from Australia. All of my friends and even my girlfriend of 2 years think I'm Australian. I have a completely fake Australian identity, family, and past. I will soon be graduating, and I plan on asking the girl to marry me. Everything she knows about me is Australian. I don't know how to tell her she doesn't really know me. Guess I'm forever a bloke. Hate to break it to you, but you won't be marrying that girl unless it turns out she's actually from Australia and has been pretending to be American for 2 years. I spent 3 years living the lie that I was a Russian foreign exchange student. I have no idea why anyone believed me. I spoke no Russian, but I had half of my junior high school convinced I was born in Moscow. I still bump into people who think I'm Russian, and I just roll with it and slap the accent back on. I told everyone who ever asked about my parents that my dad was black. I'm completely 100% white. After a while it wasn't even questioned anymore. I don't know why, but I thought it was funny at the time. Actually, I still do think it is a little funny. My father never had anything other than boys, and my mother always wanted a girl. Try as they might, they just had tons of boys. When I was 6 they adopted a girl of also 6. Everyone was pleased, and she was quickly included into the family by everyone, and we all took an immediate shine to her. Especially me. We started playing doctor at 9. This progressed to fooling around by our early teens and into actual sex shortly thereafter. We're both over 30 now. We have sex whenever we see each other. We also like to pretend we are twins when we do have sex. We've both had our shares of girlfriends and boyfriends, but we always kept it up even while in those relationships. She's actually married now. We still have sex about 2 times a month, more when the family gets together for holidays. I can't even imagine the bricks that would be shit if anyone ever found out. It's been close a few times, especially when we were younger, but nobody's ever caught on. This secret could ruin several lives, not just mine. I was a rebellious kid and never got along with my family or anyone from my hometown, so I ran off from home as soon as I hit 18. Using IRC friends or acquaintances, I couch surfed for almost a year before coming across a business opportunity in California. I settled down and began a serious relationship with a woman named May. I dated May for 3.5 years, and they were some of the best years of my life, but after a while she wanted more, and I wanted less, and we broke up. Fast forward 6 years, and I get a call from my little brother saying he's getting married, and, despite my absence, he wanted me to be his best man. I fly home 2 weeks before the wedding, and that night at dinner my brother introduced me to my old girlfriend May, his fiancée. Although it was awkward, we both ignored the fact we knew each other. Real sap shit. My brother gets pulled away for something or another, and I finally get to speak to May. We start a conversation that took us from the kitchen, out to the deck, and down the path to an old dried-up pond at the edge of my parents' property. It was like all of the good times from the 3 years of dating her were consolidated into that conversation. Everything just clicked. The rush of emotion was unlike anything I've ever felt, and it was the same for May. And despite being all sorts of evil, we took off all our clothes and f***ed like rabbits on the old dock. Over the next couple days I went over to my brother's apartment while he was at work. We f***ed all over everything. The couch, his bed, even the bathroom floor. All unprotected. A week passed, and the rush of emotion subsided and I came to my sense. And although we both wanted more, we decided to stop seeing each other. The wedding went off without issue despite the best man feeling like a complete demon. I just wanted to get back on a plane to California as soon as possible. And after wishing the happy couple on their way, that's just what I did. Now, here's where things get interesting. 5 months after the wedding, May calls me. She's pregnant. She tells me that her and my brother didn't have sex due to irrelevant issues from a month before the wedding to the honeymoon, 3 days after the wedding. The kid is mine. I'm not an expert on the reproductive system or math, so I'm relying on what May has told me, but she seems convinced. We both decide to pretend my brother is the father. The kid's first birthday is coming up and I still don't know if I made the right choice, but I speak with my brother often, and he seems happy. And I'm fine with that. Ignorance is bliss. I cut some things out as the story was getting pretty long as it is. But holy shit, this was a cathartic experience. Summary. My little brother married my ex-girlfriend, we rekindled our relationship before the wedding, and she gets pregnant with my baby, and to this day my brother has no idea we even knew each other before the wedding. I am a terrible person. I lit a tree on fire for kicks and ended burning half a forest down, and several homes went up in flames in the process. I wanted to say, I did that when I saw it on the news. I appreciate your anonymous internet honesty, but as a firefighter I got to say fuck you. My boyfriend at the time cheated on me, and the girl he cheated with made a point of going round and telling everyone in our little town. It humiliated me. I made a fake Facebook account pretending to be a boy, added her and talked to her for 8 months, becoming her confidant. She told me all her secrets. I then got to the stage where I asked her to send me naked pictures, and she did. The pictures got put all over town, along with print screens of her secrets and message. She got kicked out of school, her family disowned her. It ruined her life. She got so much abuse over it, she had to move to a different town, where last I heard she's unemployed and living in a dump because her parents disowned her and she has no money of her own. She has no idea who the boy really was. I don't regret it one bit.